Audio quality is quite important when creating videos, arguably even more important than video quality. But there's a lot of things to consider when getting a mic that fits your situation: portability, budget, and size. But what exactly do you lose when optimizing all three categories? Well, the Neewer KM19 does that. So let's find out. Now, before we get into the features, the first thing we need to do is unbox it, of course. And just for full transparency, Neewer sent me this mic for review, but these are all my honest and genuine opinions, and they had no input whatsoever for this video. So the first thing we have is a user manual. It's just got some info about how to use the mic and what the LEDs do, but we don't really care, so let's toss that aside. And we have this very nice carrying pouch. It's very small. We got some extra windscreens for the microphone. And we have this USB-C to Lightning adapter in case you have a very old iPhone and you need to use this microphone. And then we have this, which is a USB-C to USB-C adapter. It's just basically an extension in case you have a case that the receiver doesn't fit on properly. And of course, we have a USB-A to a USB-C charger. And obviously, we have the final product, which is the Neewer KM19 itself. And you can see just how small it is. It looks like it's an earbud case. And you have the really, really tiny transmitters here, 2 of them. And they're just super small. You can see it's about the size of my thumbnail. And we have the receiver as well, which is really, really small. And yeah, it's just super nice and compact, very sleek. And we have this charging display on the front, which shows you the charging percent of the case and also whether each of the transmitters are charging. And of course, there's a USB-C port at the back for charging. So now let's talk about the features, starting with the most important one, and I'd say the main selling point of this wireless microphone, and that's its size. It's just super compact, super lightweight, and super small. Like, this can fit inside of your pocket, and it's roughly the same size as an earbuds case. It's just only slightly bigger than my Google Pixel Buds Pro, and the transmitter is roughly the same size as a USB receiver for wireless PC peripherals, so it's like insanely small. And the receiver itself is so small that you can actually leave it on your phone while you put it in your pocket. And of course, it's insanely lightweight. And just to give you an idea of how lightweight it is, I weighed it out, and the transmitter is 5.64 grams, the receiver is 3.48 grams, the case is 40 grams, and altogether it's only 55 grams. That is insanely light. And to put that into perspective, the Google Pixel Buds that I have are 65 grams. So this is heavier than the wireless earbuds. So just think about that. It's insanely lightweight. Well, obviously, that's not the only thing you care about. You also care about quality, which I'm going to get into later, but you also care about ease of use. So Neewer has an app for this, actually. It's called the Neewer Mic app, and it's available for both Android and iOS. And it's a very simple app, and you get a few controls and settings that are configurable. So you can mute the microphones individually. You can switch between stereo and audio mode. You can also set the noise cancellation level, and you can even query the microphones to find them. So if you press that query button, it starts flashing the LEDs on the microphone. I guess not to find them per se, but kind of to figure out which transmitter is which one. You can also monitor the microphones individually within the app, so you can see what the levels are for each microphone if you're doing an interview, for example, and each person has a separate microphone and it's recording in stereo. But there are some things that the app can't actually do that I think are missing. And the main one is gain control. There's no gain control within the app, except if you're recording through the app, which you can actually do, but that doesn't change the settings on the receiver. Unlike with the DJI Mic Mini, on the mobile receiver, you can set the gain control within the app, and for the bigger camera receiver, you can set the gain control on the receiver itself. So that's just something that I wish this did have. Another one is the safety track feature. The DJI Mic Mini has a safety track feature which records one track at your regular gain you've set, and then the other one is 6 decibels less, and it gives you a little bit of a safety buffer just in case you're clipping on your main track. Now, obviously, when you have this enabled, you can't do stereo, but those are 2 features I think would be nice to have on the KM19. But because you don't have gain control, I guess you also can't have that safety track feature. And because you don't have that safety track feature, I would just suggest recording in stereo all the time, because you have the utility of 2 separate microphone tracks. That's if you're using both microphones. But I guess you might not want to do that if you're editing and recording on your phone. You want it as simple as possible, so you record it in mono and you don't have to kind of mess with the audio tracks in your editor. And the transmitter and receiver both have 1 button on them each, and they do everything you can do within the app, so it's not really needed, and this is essentially just plug and play. So the receiver has 1 button on it, which switches between stereo mode and mono mode, and it has an LED for each of the transmitters, and if the LED is solid blue, it means the transmitter is connected. If it's flashing blue, it means it's searching for that transmitter or it's not connected. And then If it's pink, it means that you have stereo mode enabled, and if it's green, it means you have one of the 3 different levels of noise cancellation enabled. And for the transmitter, it has 2 LEDs, and one of them is for the connection state, so it's going to be solid blue if it's connected to receiver, or flashing blue if it's trying to connect to the receiver. And then the other one is for whether or not noise cancellation is enabled. So if it's off, noise cancellation is off. And if it's green, it's at one of the 3 different levels of noise cancellation. And this is quite nice to, be able to basically have the entire state of your microphone. And for the buttons on the transmitter, one press cycles through the noise cancellation levels. So it goes up from 1 to 3 and then back down to off. So the only thing is you can't go backwards. You'd have to cycle through if you're trying to go back to off from 1, which isn't really that big of a deal. And then the other thing is you can't know what level you're on exactly because it's just green for any of the levels. So if you want to be on level 2 and you're not sure what you're on, you're going to have to go back to off and then count your way back up. It's not really that big of a deal, but it's just something to consider. And if you press the button twice, it just mutes the microphone and it turns the LED red. And this is something that the DJI Mic Mini doesn't have. I don't think you can even mute it from within the app. So it's just really nice. Let's say there's 2 of you, you're doing an interview or you're live streaming or whatever, and you want to just super simply mute the microphone, you can just press that twice and the audio is cut off. That's very nice to have. But if you're doing something like what I'm doing and recording like this, there really is no need to mute your microphone if you're going to be editing it and it's not live. Oh, and the clip actually has a magnet built in. So unlike the DJI Mic Mini where the clip is magnetic and there's a separate magnet you can use to attach it to your shirt, the KM19 has a magnet built into the clip. So you can stick it onto any like metal poles or whatever. Or if you wanted to stick it onto your shirt, you'd have to find something else magnetic and put that behind it so it can stick onto there. So even though it does have that clip, it does give you a little bit more versatility on where you can position the microphone, which is an amazing feature on such a small microphone. That's just amazing. But yeah, because of that, you can use any magnet to attach it to your shirt. You just have to make sure that you're using the opposite polarity or else it will just repel it. So something else to note is that this microphone doesn't work with cameras, which is why I'm recording this on the DJI Mic Mini. It doesn't have a 3.5mm microphone jack on the receiver, so it only works over USB-C. So that's why it works with your smartphone, and it also works with PC actually. So you can use it on your MacBook, your desktop, or any of your Windows laptops and record through there. But the main target demographic for this is smartphone creators because of how compact and how small it is. You can fit it in your pocket super easily. The receiver can stay on your phone and sit in your pocket. You don't really have to worry about that. And because of how small the transmitters are, you can kind of leave them on you and it's not really that noticeable. I'm mainly going to be using the KM19 with my cell phone. I'll take it with me every day, and it's going to be nice to have a wireless microphone that's attached onto me when I record stuff with my phone. So now let's compare it to the DJI Mic Mini, which is a very popular compact microphone. Not as compact as this one, but it is pretty small as well. So it does have very similar features, but some things it does have over the KM19 are the in-app gain control and the safety track feature. And I'm going to be using the mobile receiver for the comparison because that's closer to the size of the KM19's receiver. So the receiver does have controls for the noise cancellation level, and it's a switch on here, not a button like the KM19, so you can actually see what level the noise cancellation is on. But the problem with that is it's on the receiver itself and not on the transmitter. So let's say you're recording and you have your camera and receiver set up quite far away and some wind starts to pick up or something like that. You can't just go through the different noise cancellation levels on the transmitter. It has to be done through the receiver itself. So it's harder to do on the fly once you've already started recording. And there's no stereo mono switch on the receiver. It's all in the app. And even on the bigger receiver, there's no stereo mono switch there. So if you do want to switch that, you can't really do it on the fly. If you have it set up on your camera, you've got to take that out, connect it to your smartphone, and use the app to switch it to stereo or mono mode. And if you're recording on your smartphone, you have to stop recording, open up the DJI Mimo app, and switch that setting. So it's super convenient on the KM19 to have that attached to the receiver. You can be recording, and I guess if you're further away, you can't switch it, but if you're already recording and you're kind of close up, you can just press that button. It switches from stereo to mono mode or vice versa, and you can continue on with your recording. And like I said, the DJI mic is compact, but it's not as compact as the Neewer KM19. And I have some weight stats for you. So the weight of the DJI Mic Mini transmitter is 15 grams, which is 3 times the weight of the Neewer KM19. The mobile receiver is 5.82 grams, so it is kind of comparable to the KM19's receiver, but it's still a little bit over it. And the camera receiver is 20 grams, which is quite a lot more, and it's way bigger. You can't actually put it in your pocket if you have that on your phone. And the case is 142 grams, and all in all, it's about 200 grams, which is about 4 times the weight of the whole KM19 setup. And it is drastically different in size. It's much more difficult to fit the DJI Mic Mini case in your pocket, but the KM19 case is so small it can fit in that little coin pocket in your pocket. Oh, and before we get into audio quality, I noticed some people commented on my last video about how the audio sounded a little bit muffled. And I think that could have been possibly due to my editing in post. I was trying to do a couple new things to make it sound a little bit more clearer, and it might have had the opposite effect. So I'm gonna try some new things for this video and let me know how that sounds. And I got the Sony ECM-G1 in hopes that it would sound a little bit better, but it picks up just a little bit too much noise for my room, and because of how far away I am from the camera, my voice isn't that clear on it because it is a shotgun microphone, not a wireless microphone like this one or like the KM19. I am hoping to do some more vlog style content with it, so subscribe to the channel if you're interested in that. So now let's actually see how the audio from such a tiny mic sounds. So this audio is being recorded with the Neewer KM19, as you can see, and it's recording directly into my phone, and I'm not going to do any editing in post. It's just going to be how the audio sounds going directly into the phone. I do have the noise cancellation set to level 1 because I have my computer on in the background and the fans are producing just a little bit of noise. Anyways, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. But yeah, I've also recorded with this mic and the DJI Mic Mini in 3 different environments to test out the noise cancellation. So I'm going to play those now and we can do some comparisons and talk about them after. So now we're recording on the Neewer KM19. So I have it recording in stereo. So I have the 2 different microphones, one placed on my chest and the other one placed in my hands, just to see what the difference is between the 2 different placements. Now let's get into the noise cancellation test. So here is the lowest level, so this is noise cancellation off. And the good thing about this one is you can switch it from here by pressing this button. So now we're on noise cancellation level number 1. So this is like a very low one, I'd say maybe for indoor environments. The good thing is this has like 3 levels opposed to the DJI Mic Mini that has only 2. Now we're going to move to the second level and see if there's any difference. This is, I guess, for a little bit more of a slightly louder environment. And then the third one is going to be the final one and the highest one, and that would be where you're like right in the middle of noise. So I think for like where I am right now, I only have like a fountain, some cars occasionally driving by, and some people like talking, kids playing around and making noise. So I'd say the second level on this should be good, and the basic level on the DJI Mic Mini, but I obviously haven't listened to these back, so we're going to see that once we get back, see how those really sound. And now we're going to the third and highest level of the Neewer KM19. Yeah, it looks like it has a very low noise level on my monitor, so the noise level is very low. It's picking up my voice. I have it once again in stereo, picking up both microphones. So this is yet again the highest level of noise cancellation on the Neewer KM19. So now we're going to go back to the lowest level, which is off, just to see like the contrast between the 2. And now we're back to off, and I can already see it's got like a high level of noise just idling. So it does seem like it's doing a good job of canceling out the noise just from monitoring it here. But both of these are being recorded through my phone on the Blackmagic design camera app. I can't remember what exactly it's called. And I have the mobile receivers for both of them fit into my phone, but this video is coming from the A6700. Okay, so this is going to be the DJI Mic Mini test. So right now I'm outside, so there's people talking, and there's also a fountain in the background that's kind of making some noise. So right now we're on the lowest level of noise cancellation, which is 0, so it's off, and I'm going to move it up to 1. But this is the DJI Mic Mini again, so it only has 3 different levels off, basic and strong. So this is off. Now we're on the lower level, the basic level of noise cancellation, so we'll see how well this works. This is what I normally use it from recording indoors and what I basically have it set to most of the time. And now we're on the highest level of noise cancellation for the DJI Mic Mini. On the camera itself, I am using the Sony ECM-G1, so that's being recorded separately. This is connected to my phone using the new DJI mobile receiver. So once again, this is the highest level of noise cancellation on the DJI Mic Mini using the mobile receiver. And now I'm going to move back down to having it off just so we can see the contrast between them. So now the noise cancellation is off yet again. So we'll see what the difference is between the highest level and the lowest level. I do believe that the highest level will lose a little bit of clarity and fidelity, but the basic level, you lose a little bit, but it's not really going to be noticeable. And then off, you're going to lose like nothing essentially. And now I think we're going to go to our second environment, which would be a park. So there's going to be a little less noise, but people chatting and talking and playing around. So we'll see how it performs there. And the final one will be in a very quiet or indoor environment. So right now I'm using the Neewer KM19 and I'm in environment number 2. So all I'm trying to do right now is see how well it handles wind, because it has this little like kind of windscreen on it. It's not as nice as the DJI Mic Minis, but I'm trying to see how well it works with occasional wind and occasional sounds. We're going to move over to level 1 now, so we have some noise cancellation, and this should handle stuff for the situation I'm in. She'll handle it perfectly. Now we're going to move on to level 2. So a car just passed by me, so hopefully it canceled that out. And now this is a level 2, the medium level or second highest level, or second lowest as well. We'll see how well this is also working. And finally, we're going to go up to the highest one, which is the level 3. So now we're on the highest level of noise cancellation. Once again, I'm just kind of walking around, seeing how well it handles like, movement and hand and wind sounds. That should be the last one for this. The sun's kind of shining into here, so that should be the last one for this one, and we'll see how the DJI Mic Mini compares. So this is the second test for the DJI Mic Mini. We are in the second environment, and same thing as the KM19. I'm just going to be walking around, kind of trying to see for occasional noises and kind of like wind noise as well. So this is the lowest level of noise cancellation. I'm going to move it up to one more level. Okay, so we're just on no noise cancellation, but now we're on the first level of noise cancellation, the basic one, or the low level, and we'll see how this kind of handles like, walking around, some wind and other sorts of things. And now we're going to move on to the highest level. That's the highest level of noise cancellation. I'd say it's not very needed for this environment, but we'll see how well it handles it. Now we're going to go back to the lowest level. It looks like there's not a lot of noise on idle, and now we're going to move on to environment number 3. So now we're in environment 3, and we are recording with the Neewer KM19. We're on no noise cancellation, but we're recording in stereo. So now we're going to move over to the first level of noise cancellation. First level of noise cancellation. I'm now going to move over to the second level of noise cancellation, but we're on the second level of noise cancellation with the Neewer KM19. And now we're going to move to the highest level of noise cancellation on the Neewer KM19. And now we are on the highest level of noise cancellation with the Neewer KM19. I've got to think of some stuff to say so you can hear this and I can kind of listen to this. But yeah, I can't really say anything about it right now because I haven't heard it. But high level of noise cancellation. Hopefully it's not too like compressed and like not very high quality. And I'll get back down to the lowest level of noise cancellation on the Neewer KM19. I'll press the button one more time. The light goes off, and now we have no noise cancellation. Yeah. Okay, so now we're actually recording through the DJI Mic Mini. We're on the lowest level, so noise cancellation is currently off. I'm going to bump it up 1 to low. So here we are, lowest level of noise cancellation, basic noise cancellation, quiet car. The car is running, the AC is running, my watch is ticking, but there's no noise apart from that. So here you would probably not really need any level of noise cancellation, or maybe just need the lower level of noise cancellation. And now we're going to go to the highest level of noise cancellation. So we're on the highest level of noise cancellation. Yeah, and then my camera has no noise cancellation enabled. It's just recording through the ECM G1. And I think that's all I have to do for the DJI Mic Mini. There we go. That's the high level of noise cancellation. And now we'll go back to the lowest level of noise cancellation and see if there's really a difference. So here's the lowest level of noise cancellation. No noise cancellation, I mean. So yeah. How does that sound? So I was speaking a little bit quietly because I'm not used to recording myself outdoors, so apologies for that. But here are some of the most noticeable things I noticed between the two different microphones. So when the noise cancellation is off, the DJI Mic Mini does sound a little bit better, but that's kind of expected due to the price differences and also the size differences as well. With a more expensive and larger mic, you can fit better and more electronics into the receiver and into the transmitters as well. I'm not sure what it is that the KM19 is lacking, but it feels like it's lacking some warmth or something of the sort. The audio just kind of feels very flat. I'm not an audio expert, but I do think it could be fixed with a little bit of EQ. I did kind of play around with an EQ and it did sound much better afterwards. But the problem is if it's supposed to be a super simple and plug and play for, basic and starting content creators, you just want to put it in your phone and be able to record audio without having to play around with it afterwards. The KM19 does lose when it comes to noise cancellation, in my opinion. The second level is kind of comparable to the DJI Mic Mini's higher one in terms of noise reduction, but it does a worse job at preserving the voice. You can kind of hear that noise cancellation has been applied to the audio, and the voice becomes a little less clear than with the DJI Mic Mini. Level 3 on the KM19 does slightly distort the audio quality, so I would avoid this and only really use it as a last resort. This is all for high noise environments like the fountain though, and I found that the difference in audio quality between the levels was acceptable in the other two environments. You could also leave noise cancellation off and do it within your editor, because if the onboard noise cancellation does distort the audio, you don't really have a way of recovering it. This goes for all mics by the way, so be cautious if you're using onboard noise cancellation. The smaller the computer, the worse the noise cancellation will be. Alan Turing, allegedly. But if you're recording and editing on your phone, you probably want the easiest experience possible, so you may need to use the mic's noise cancellation. But yeah, I think all mics serve a purpose regardless of size or price, and it's important to find the right one for your situation. I have quite a few microphones. I have the Shure SM7DB, which is a dynamic mic, and it works over XLR, so I only use that with my PC. And I mainly use it for voiceovers and also for video and audio calls. Because it is a dynamic mic, it's much less sensitive and it doesn't really pick up background noise, so it's much easier to work with. You can kind of use it on the fly, and that's why I use it for audio and video calls. I don't have to worry about it picking up background noises like a condenser microphone would, and it still gives me very good audio quality and very crisp audio quality. And I have the MXL 770, which is a condenser microphone that works over XLR, so I only use that with my PC. And because it's a condenser microphone, it's much more sensitive, so I use it less often than the SM7DB now, but it's better in rooms with acoustic treatment because it would pick up echoes and other sounds in a regular room. I do use it for like more emotional vocals because it does have like a better dynamic range, and it sounds better than a dynamic mic would, but it is harder to work with. Also now have the Sony ECM-G1, which is an on-camera shotgun microphone, and it's very simple to set up. You just slide it onto the multi-interface shoe of a Sony camera, or you connect it over 3.5mm cords to a regular camera, and it has directional audio, so it's good for vlogging and close-ups when you're super close to the camera. And I have the DJI Mic Mini, which is a wireless lavalier microphone that can connect to cameras, and because I have a Sony camera, I have it connecting to the hot shoe of my camera, so it's super easy to connect. And finally, we're on to what this whole video is about, the Neewer KM19, and that is a wireless, ultra-compact smartphone microphone. And this connects to your phone, but not cameras, like I said. And this is perfect for smartphone creators. It's super simple to work with. It can fit in your pocket and records directly into your video. You don't have to do much or any modifications after recording your video. All the controls are on the receiver and the transmitter, so there's no need for you to download the app. And it's super easy to modify settings on the fly. And both the buttons and the LEDs are super simple to understand. Even if you don't read the manual or you don't use the app, you can kind of figure out what they're doing. I'm kind of bummed out that it doesn't have gain control or safety track, but I guess the latter isn't really necessary for the target demographic, but I do think gain control could be very helpful no matter who is using this. I do think a built-in EQ or voice presets would be great to have, and that would greatly improve the audio quality and bring it closer to the DJI Mic's level. And hopefully these are things that they can implement with a firmware upgrade or implement it in the next version of the microphones. All in all, I do think this is the perfect microphone for smartphone creators, and it's going to be a great addition to my minimal EDC, which if you want to know more about, you can check it out here. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, subscribe for more similar content, and I think that's all. See you next time. I use it for voiceovers and taking both audio and video calls on my PC. It gives very good audio quality, and because it's a dynamic one, it's not super sensitive. You don't have to worry